begin today the Gemara on Davav Amud Aleph at the beginning of the Amud where it says Ve'ike de Amri. Gemara is discussing the halacha that it said in the Mishnah that by a Sotah there's no mitzvah of Yibum that applies, only Chalitza. So the question is, why not? So the Gemara brought from Rav Yosef before two different versions what Rav Yosef said to explain this. The Gemara here now brings a third version of what Rav Yosef said, and it's based on the pasuk v'yatsa mi beisai v'holcha v'hoisa leish acher. When a person divorces his wife, and the reason he divorces her is because matza ba'ervas davar, she's behaving inappropriately. So the Gemara, the pasuk describes v'hoisa leish acher, she gets married to someone else. So that's here. The Gemara brings now another pshat. How Rav Yosef understood this? Zok the Gemara v'iked amri. Others said, Amr Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef says, Hakosov korei acher. The Torah describes this woman that gets married to someone else. So this person that marries her, the Torah calls him a acher. Why? She'ein zeh ben zugoi shel rishon. This is not the ben zug of the first husband. Shezeh hoitzi rishon mi beisai, v'zeh hichnes rishon l'toich beisai. This the rishon, the first husband. So he divorces this wife that was a rasha, that misbehaved, and now this person comes and marries her, and therefore we call him a acher. That it's not a good marriage. Just like the first husband divorced her, and what does the second man do? He goes and he marries this woman that's a rasha. So if we see that the pasuk is telling us that the second person that marries her is called a acher, so now va'at amrit tisiyavim nami yavumi. So you're saying now that that there should be a mitzvah of Yibum here, that the brother of this man, if he passed away, there should be a mitzvah of Yibum. If the Torah calls him a acher, the one that goes and marries her, is called an acher, so how could you say that the Torah should give a mitzvah that the brother has to go ahead and marry her? Amalei Abaye. So Abaye says, now based on this reason, so Elameyata, if that's the case, so then there shouldn't be a mitzvah of Yibum not only when her husband passes away, but Elameyata Nisis Lacher. What happens if her husband divorced her? This woman that's a Sotah, her husband divorced her. And now she got married to someone else. And we just said, the Gemara, the pasuk says that when she marries someone else, it's called Ish Acher. Umeiz B'loi Banim. And that second husband now died without any children. So Leitus Yavim, even after that second husband dies, there should be no mitzvah of Yibum. That cost of Korei Acher. Because the Torah calls this person Ish Acher. So we should say over here that there's no Yibum as well. But of course that's not true. There's no mitzvah of Yibum if this woman was a Sotah from the husband that she became a Sotah by him, and he passes away, then there's no mitzvah of Yibum. But it is the second husband that marries her passes away, there is a mitzvah of Yibum. But according to the reasoning of Rav Yosef, that this woman is a Risha. We don't want to place the mitzvah of Yibum on a brother if she's a Risha. So we should say the same thing even if she gets married to a second husband. So the Gemara says, no, you can't go that far, because Gabe Dehai, by the second husband that she got married to, Mia B'Shem Toiv Avakaima, she still retained her good name. She did something that was inappropriate by the first husband. She became a Sotah, and the first husband divorced her. She got married to someone else, but then nothing happened inappropriately when she was married to the second husband. So Rashi says it could be that she did tshuva. You can't say that the same applies like by the first marriage that she's called a risha, that now by the second marriage she's also. Maybe not. Maybe over here she did tshuva. So therefore the mitzvah of Yibum will apply here. Okay, the Gemara now brings another pshat.
That's how she drink the water and everything. She would have finished afterwards, huh?
No. Without that, correct. Yeah, but it's not shaykh to drink the waters of the Sotah once her first husband divorced her. It's only only when she's still married to him. The Gemara brings another pshat, the source of this concept, why there's no mitzvah of Yibum when a woman is a Sotah. Rava said, Kal v'chaimer. You don't need a pasuk for this, but there's a Kal v'chaimer that could explain it. And the Kal v'chaimer goes like this: Im nesra b'motila. If a woman, she's married to her husband, now when she becomes a Sotah, so she becomes aser to her husband that was mutter to her until this point. If so, ba'aser la, the brother of her husband, while that happens, while she becomes a Sotah, she's aser to him, because as long as her husband is alive, this is her husband's brother, she's aser to marry him. Like Kol Shekain, most definitely by becoming a Sotah, she becomes aser for the mitzvah of Yibum to this man, that when she becomes a Sotah, she's asa to him. That's the Kal V'chomer. Oh, Malay Abaye. So now Abaye. Again? True, and a Chanami. But but not only that, but even if that husband would divorce her, she would still be asa to get married to the brother. The whole mitzvah of Yibum only applies if the husband passes away without children, right? So again, the logic of what the Gemara is saying is, if her becoming a Sotah is an Aveda that causes her to become asa to her husband, for sure it should cause her to become asa to the brother of the husband. The brother of the husband is further from her. The husband was mutter to her. The brother, there's an Isser on her. The mitzvah of Yibum is the whole Chiddush Yikivim Yavim. So for sure, the Sotah, her becoming a Sotah, should cause her to be asa to that brother. Amalei Abaye. So Abaye asks on this. Based on this, I can bring another Kal V'chomer, and which will come out with a halacha that's not true. Because Ela Mayata, if so, let's say as follows: Kohen Gadol shekidush es almana. A Kohen Gadol that marries an almana. A Kohen Gadol is not allowed to marry an almana, right? Umeis, and he passes away. And v'yashle ach kohen hedyet. So he passed away without children, and there's a brother. And the brother is also a kohen, but he's only a kohen hedyet. Kohen hedyet is allowed to marry an almana. But you should say a Kal V'chomer that lo yitisyabim, that the brother, the kohen hedyet, should not be allowed to do Yibum for this wife. Why not? Say the Kal V'chomer as follows: Im nesra b'mutelo, if this almana becomes aser to the kohen gadol, which was mutter to her. Now the Gemara will immediately ask on this that this Kal V'chomer really, this lashon doesn't make sense, because this almana was always aser to the kohen gadol. Okay, well let's continue here with the lashon of the Kal V'chomer. Ba'asela lekol shekain. So with this kohen hedyet, so she was asa to the kohen hedyet while the brother is alive. So she was asa to that kohen hedyet. So for sure, like kol shekain, for sure she should not be able to do yibum to him with him. Okay, so the Gemara says that this question, the way it's put over here, the way Abaye asked this, or the way at least we understood what Abaye asked, this Kal V'chomer doesn't make sense at all. Nesra, you telling me a Kal V'chomer that this is a woman that becomes, what's the point of the Kal V'chomer? You're trying to tell me if she becomes asa to the kohen gadol, that she was mutter to him, for sure she should be asa to the kohen hedyet that she was asa already from before, because he's a brother to the husband. But that doesn't make sense. Nesra, she became asa to the kohen gadol. Asir v'kaima, and almana is always asa. She was not allowed to marry the kohen gadol from the first second. Mutala, same question. The Gemara is just touching guys going to get to the rest of the words here. Mutala. He was mutter to her, that is. Asala, he was always asa to her. So there's no Kal V'chomer here. What was Abaye saying? If she's asa to the kohen gadol, for sure she should be asa to the kohen hedyet. There's no connection. Kohen gadol is asa to an almana, and a kohen hedyet is not asa to almana. What kind of a Kal V'chomer is this? Okay, so therefore the Gemara says this is not really what Abaye said. Abaye said something else. Ella, rather, the Kal V'chomer is as follows: Eishes kohen shenensa. The wife of a kohen, there was an oinus. Someone had a relationship with her while she's married to her husband against her will. An oinus. Now, what's the halacha of an oinus? So here, the point you have to know for the pshat of this Gemara is that by a kohen, the halacha of an oinus is that she can't go back to her husband. By a Yisrael, a woman that has a relation with someone else, beratzain, can't go back to her husband. But if it's ba'oinus, you could. So now what's the case over here? Eish is kohen shenensa, the wife of a kohen, that there was an oinus that happened. So now she becomes aser to her husband, umei, so now he passed away. V'yeshloi ach cholol. Now this kohen has a brother that would have to do yibum, but the brother that he has is a cholol, meaning that it's a brother, they only share the same father. They don't share the same mother. This brother, this kohen, the father, married another wife, which was a grusha. He was not allowed to marry that wife. The child that's born from that marriage is a cholol. He's a kohen, but he's a cholol. Now, the halachas of a kohen that's a cholol, he's the same like a Yisrael. The isurim that apply to a regular kohen does not apply to this brother that's a cholol. So you would think to yourself and say as follows: look, the brother, the first husband, the kohen that's a kosher kohen, he's not allowed to live with this wife once this oinus happened. The brother, which is a cholol, the halachas of kahuna don't apply to him. He should be allowed to do the yibum for this woman even after this oinus occurred. But now, let's say the following Kal V'chomer. Loi tisyabim, this brother, the Chalal, should not be able to do Yibum. Why not? Because I'll tell you, in Nesra b'mutala, if through this Einis that happened. So this woman now became Asa to her husband, that was Mutta to her till now. But Asala, like Kol Shekain, the brother, while that happened, while that Einis occurred, so the first husband was still alive, so the brother, she was Asa to him, for sure that this Einis that happens to her should affect the brother as well, that she should be Asr, then for the mitzvah of Yibum to him. If he's saying this Kal V'chaimer, when you get to a brother by a regular Sotah, so you should make the same exact Kal V'chaimer here, when you get to the brother, which is a Cholol. Even though we know the halacha is not so. The halacha is that the brother, which is a Cholol, because the same halachas of Kohona don't apply to him, he could do the mitzvah of Yibum. But the question is, why don't we make this Kal V'chaimer to say that the mitzvah of Yibum should not apply? So the Gemara answers, this Kal V'chaimer you're saying here is not the same Kal V'chaimer that Rav said regarding a regular Sotah. Einis bi Yisrael mishra shari. An Einis that happens with a woman by a Yisrael, that's totally nothing. It's insignificant. She's completely mutta to a Yisrael. The Gabe Dahai, so therefore when it comes over here to this brother, which is a Chalal, and he has the status of a regular Yisrael, like Yisura. There's no Issa B'chlal for her to do the mitzvah of Yibum. So therefore there's no Kal V'chaimer over here. What happened to this Chalal is relevant for her husband now, which is a Kain, that shall become Asa to her husband a Kain. The brother, which is a Chalal, there's no reason to ask the Yibum. And that's different than the Kal V'chaimer that Rava said before. Before, Rava was speaking about a woman that becomes a Sotah. Woman that becomes a Sotah, and there's her present husband and the brother that would have the mitzvah of Yibum. Being a Sotah is an Isser that applies to all Yidden equally. So therefore, over here I could say that if the Isser of Sotah asks her to the husband, the Isser should also apply to the brother, the Yavam. But the Isser of Einis is only an Isser that applies to a Kayin and not to a Chalal. So there's no connection. We can't make any Kal V'chaimer to say that the Isser should affect the brother, the Chalal, which has the status of Yisrael as well. The following situations, so this woman will become Asa to her husband and Asa to eat the Truma of her husband if the husband is a Kayin. Ha'imeres Tmeyani. In a case where you have a Sotah, so here Taisus explains based on the Gemara that in Nedarim, he says that we're talking about a situation of a woman that became a Sotah, there was kinnoid, there was stira, she was warned, she went secluded with a man, and then she comes forward and she admits. She says, yes, I had a relationship with this man, I'm Tameh. So once she says that, so now that's it, she's Asa to her husband, she's Asa to eat Truma. She admitted, Tameh ani loch. V'shabo Eidim, if witnesses came along and told us, she Tmeya, that she's Tameh. Or she refuses to drink the waters of the Sotah. So she's still in a situation of a suffix, of a Sotah, but if she refuses to drink the water, so then she'll be Asa to eat the Truma. Or the husband doesn't want to go through with this. The husband does not want to give her to drink the waters of the Sotah. It only happens if the husband agrees. And the husband had a relationship with her after she became a Sotah. The example the Mishnah gives, Baderech, well, it could be on the way going to the Beis HaMikdash, but it means in any situation where the husband is not allowed to have a relationship with his wife after she becomes a Sotah. If he does, the waters of the Sotah don't work anymore. So therefore now she's going to be Asa forever and she won't be able to eat the Truma of her husband, which is a Kain. Sagt the Gemara, Omar Rav Amram.
But the minute that he decides that she's a site that Kana and steered and this and that, he can still give her.
There's still an option that she will be able to eat Truma. It's still an option, and not at that time. Oh, but if here the Mishnah is giving you examples that she's not going to be able to eat Truma. Correct.
He can't.
Right.
Until they have the
correct.
They can have it. Okay.
Omar Rav Amram. So Rav Amram said, Ha Milsa, the following halacha. Amalan Rav Sheshis told us, the Analan Einen Mimasnissen. And then he illuminated our eyes. In other words, he brought a proof for this from the Mishnah that we just learned it. What is this halacha? Sotah sheyeshla Eidim b'Medina Sayam. A Sotah, so there's a doubt what happened when she was secluded with this man. So we don't have any Eidim here that could tell us, but there are Eidim that are overseas that know what happened. So because there are Eidim that know, even though they're not here to tell us, the waters of the Sotah will not work. The very fact that there are Eidim that know renders the water that doesn't no effect. What's the source for this? So he brought a pasuk. My time, the makra, the pasuk says, "V'nistara v'hi nitma." She was secluded. She became tamei, but ve'eid einba. What does ve'eid einba mean? The leke the yadaba. The waters of the Sotah only works when there is no edim that know about this. La fukeha, excluding this case, the ha'ike the yadaba. There are edim that know about this, even though they're not here. They're overseas, but nevertheless, the very fact that there's edim that know about this, the waters of the Sotah do not work. That's the way the Gemara is teaching this pasuk here. Rashi points out that the Gemara in the beginning of the Masechta brought the same pasuk to learn out something else from this. Then you get a situation where the edim are here, and the edim, there's an eid echad. There the Gemara said from this pasuk we learned that even if an eid echad is here to tell us that she had a relationship with this man, that we can determine for sure that we trust him. It's a different drasha than the Gemara is darshaning over here. But Rashi says, "Ein mikra yetsa midei pshutai." This is the simple pshat of the pasuk. That's why the Gemara is darshaning it here like this. The Gemara says on this, Rav Shesha said, "Ve'anerlon einen mimasnisen." Now, he illuminated our eyes not from our Mishnah. We can bring a raya to this halacha from our Mishnah. The raya from the pasuk is not strong enough of a raya because, as I mentioned, there's the other drasha that we learn from the pasuk. So we have a raya from our Mishnah. What does it say in our Mishnah? The Mishnah says, "V'shabol la edim sheitmeya." That when do I say that she can't drink the waters of the Sotah anymore and she becomes asati trumeh? Edim came to say that she's tameh. What happened over here? Says the Gemara, the asa edim amos. When did these edim come? Did these edim come to say that she had a relationship with this man before she drinks the waters of the Sotah? Zaynahi. If that's the case, edim come and say she had a relationship with this man willingly. She's a zayna. And so obviously she can't go back to her husband and she can't eat from his truma. Why would the Mishnah even have to say such a thing? That can't be what the Mishnah is saying. Ella, rather, what is the Mishnah saying? Lebasar de shasai. After she drank the waters of the Sotah, now edim come along and say that she is tamei. And on that, the Mishnah is saying that if the edim came after she drank the waters of the Sotah, we trust those edim, and she can't eat from the truma of her husband, the kain. So now the Gemara explains the raya here. Now, if you're going to say that as long as there were edim in existence in the world that knew about this, so the water does not work at all, so then shapir, then this makes sense. It makes sense that she drank the waters of the Sotah, and the waters of the Sotah had no effect on her. What happens with the waters of a Sotah for a woman that actually did have a relationship with a man? So the pasuk says, "V'tzavsa bitna," she bursts and she dies. Over here, what happened? She drank the waters of the Sotah and nothing happened to her. Now Adam come along and say she had a relationship with this man. Why didn't the waters of the Sotah work? The answer is it didn't work because as long as there are Adam in the world that know of what happened, the waters of the Sotah are ineffective. That's why the waters of the Sotah doesn't work. And we believe the Adam, that what they say is true. So she can't anymore eat the truma of her husband. But if you're going to say that even though those Adam knew about this, but they didn't come, they weren't here before she drank the water, but you're going to tell me that in such a situation, the waters of the Sotah are still effective, to Gali Milsalam Afreya, it should be revealed retroactively, the Sahadi Shakri Ninin, that these Adam that are speaking here must be lying. Look, she drank the waters of the Sotah and it didn't work. So, if the Mishnah says that the Adam come after she drinks the waters of the Sotah, we believe these Adam, even though the waters of the Sotah did not work, that's exactly the point. The waters of the Sotah don't work when there are Adam. So this proves this point over here that Rav Amram taught from the pasuk that when the Adam b'medina sayam, the waters of the Sotah don't work.
What's the purpose of the Adam then?
What's the
What's the purpose of the Adam?
When the waters of the Sotah doesn't work, it looks like that she's clean, that she didn't do any aveda. That's what it looks like, right? Okay. So but now the Adam come along, and the Adam say that's not the case. We know that she had a relationship with this man.
They have to come before it should be?
No. Over here, the case. Well, they can come whenever they can come. But here, what happened is they came after. They came after. They weren't here before. They came after. After she drank the waters of the Sotah, it looks like she was all clean and fine. Now the Adam show up and say, not true. We know that she had a relationship with this man, and we trust those Adam. That's the chiddush. That's what our Mishnah is saying here.
Should be able to live with her husband.
Yeah, exactly. Now she can't.
If the husband has something going on with him, then the waters don't work.
That's another thing. Okay, okay. 1 second. Amalei Rav Yosef. So Rav Yosef asks him this and says, no, there's no raya from our Mishnah. Why not? Really, I can tell you that the waters of the Sotah do work. Even when there's Eidim b'Medina Sayam, the waters of the Sotah do work. So what happened over here? Why didn't she burst and die? But over here, what happened is this woman had a special schos. She had a schos that was tailula, and therefore she's still alive. She'll eventually pass away, even in a case where she has a schos. This chus doesn't help her that the waters of the Sotah will not affect her at all. But you see that this woman is still standing and she's still alive, or her stomach didn't burst. It's because the chus was tailula. So you can't prove from the mission over here that the fact that we're trusting the Eidim, even though she drank the waters of the Sotah, shows that the waters of the Sotah don't work as long as there's Eidim that have this knowledge. No, nothing to do with that. Maybe the MS, the waters of the Sotah should work, even though the Eidim have that knowledge. The only reason the waters were not effective over here is because she has a certain schus. She'll eventually pass away, but meanwhile she's alive because she has the schus. Maybe that's what happened over here. So therefore there's no raya from our Mishnah. That's the reason we trust the Eidim. The waters of the Sotah work, but there's a schus. So the schus keeps her alive for a certain amount of time. Says the Gemara, what's the argument here between Rav Yosef and Rav Sheshes? Do we say that the schus keeps her alive or not? What they argue about is this idea of misnavna that Rebbe said. Misnavna means whether, even if she has a zechos, do I say that her body begins to deteriorate as soon as she drinks the waters from the Sotah? Tanam, we learned in the Mishnah here later in this Masechta, Rebbe says, Chos toile b'mayim amarim. The zechos that a woman has will suspend the effect of this water that she drinks. Ve'ena yoledes. So if she did the Aveda, so obviously she's not going to give birth to a child, like the Pasuk says, for a woman that did not do an Aveda. She doesn't become improved in her health. Immediately after she drinks the water, she slowly begins to deteriorate. And eventually she will pass away with the same misa that the Pasuk describes, that her stomach bursts. Okay, but there's still a difference between her and a regular woman that's a Sotah. A regular woman that's a Sotah passes away immediately. What the Pasuk describes happens right away. By her, it happens with misnavna. Okay, but the point is that what Rebbe is saying is that right after she drinks the water, even if there is a zechos, you could see the effect, that misnavna, that she begins to deteriorate. Rav Shesh's opinion is Bein Rebbe, Bein Rabbanon. Rebbe and the Rabbanon in that Mishnah as well, they both agree that Havi Misnavna, that she would begin to deteriorate right away. So therefore Rav Shesha says, here, this woman, the fact that she's not deteriorating right away, you can't say it's because of a zechus. It has to be, the reason is because there were Eidim that knew about this, and because Eidim know the water is ineffective. So we have a raya to this concept that Eidim's knowledge, even though they're Medina Sayam, makes the water ineffective. Rav Yosef Sava, but Rav Yosef's opinion is, Rebbe holds that she would begin to deteriorate right away. But Rabbanan disagree. Rabbanan say that she would not begin to deteriorate right away, even if she would pass away later, but she would not begin to deteriorate right away. So therefore, the fact that now we see that the waters were ineffective has nothing to do with the fact that because there are Eidim, the water doesn't work. Maybe it's because of a schos, and nothing will change in her body right away. So therefore there's no raya from a Mishnah. That's what their machlokes is based on. Talk to Gemara Masav Rav Shimi Barashi. Rav Shimi Barashi asked on this halacha, again, that if there are Eidim that know, the water doesn't work. So the question is, Rav Shimon said, Ein schus toile b'mayim amarim. You can't say that there's such a concept of a schus, that if a woman has a special merit, then the mayim hamarim, this waters of the Sotah, does not work the way it usually does. Because if you're going to say that the waters work for a woman, that again, if you're going to say that the schus, that is, suspends the effect of the mayim amarim, so then you're going to push away the effect of this waters for all the women that drink. Women are going to say, look, someone else drank this water from the Sotah and she had a schus and it saved her, so I'm not afraid of this water. I'll be saved from this. And also, additionally, and then when it comes to women that drink this water of the Sotah and they come out clean and nothing happens to them, so now there'll be a shame, there'll be a bad name on these women, there'll still always be a doubt. People will say, they were still Tamei. The only reason they're not dying from this water is because they had some kind of a merit. So you can't, this water has to be very conclusive, it has to be very clear. You can't involve a schus in this to say that with the schus the water doesn't work. Okay, that's what Rab Shimon said. Says the Gemara, if that's true, say the same thing regarding what we're speaking about over here, when there are Edom that have knowledge about what she did. If the svar of Rab Shimon is true, so Yeshla Edom in Medina Sayam Nami, in a case where there are Edom overseas that know what happened, and you're going to say that then the waters are ineffective, so now there'll be a bad name for those women that are pure and clean, that drank the water, and people are going to say, oh, it doesn't mean anything. Tamei saw you, could be they were Tomei, there are Edom overseas that know about this, and that's where the water is ineffective. Again, the point is you can't say that the waters don't work, and it doesn't work in a certain situation. Says the Gemara, let Rab Shimon comment. You're asking a question based on Rab Shimon's svara. Let Rab Shimon, you're right. According to Rab Shimon, just like Rab Shimon says that we can't say that the schus of a woman affects the waters. The same thing also, Edom's knowledge, the Medina Sayam, cannot affect the water either. Rab Shimon's opinion is that the water will still work. So this halacha is not true according to Rab Shimon. Masiv Rav asked the Shaila, says ve'elu shemin chesei the surface. Following is the situation. The Mishnah later says here's where the mincha of a Sotah is going to have to be burnt. It's not, in other words, it's going to be burnt on the side of the mizbeach for the karbonos that cannot be used properly. So here is going to be a situation when the mincha that was prepared and brought cannot be used anymore. So it has to be burnt. The beis hadeshen. How you is tameini. After this mincha was already prepared, the woman comes and says, "I'm tamei." So now she admitted. They used to scare her. The Mishnah later describes how much they scared her, and so once she admits the mincha can't be used anymore. Shabala Edom she tameya. Or if witnesses come and say about this woman that she's tamei, so now the mincha can't be used either anymore. She's not a Sotah anymore. It's already been determined that she's tamei, so the mincha cannot be used. So it has to be burnt in the beis hadeshen where the ashes are. Says the Gemara, what is that Mishnah talking about? To also Edom Amos. When did these Edom come and say that she's tamei? If you're going to say the Edom came and told us that she was tamei even before the mincha was sanctified in a kli shadis, in the keli in the Beis Hamikdash. So Rashi here explains when you're makdish the flour or the oil for the mincha, there are two stages. There's one level of kedusha which is called kedusha sapeh. When a person with his mouth says that this flour should be for the mincha, but it wasn't yet placed into the keli of kochim, of the kli shadis. So kedusha sapeh does not have a proper, the mincha does not have yet the full kedusha saguf on it. After you put it into a keli, then it gets a full kedusha saguf like a carbon mamish. So now the question over here is what happened? If the Edom came and said that she was tamei mikame de tikdish before this flour became fully kaddish in a keli, so it doesn't have the full kedusha yet. So typical chulin. Why do you have to burn it over there in the Beis Hadesh and the Beis Hamikdash if it doesn't have the full kedusha yet? So let it just go out and be chulin. Hello, so it must be the reason why the Mishnah is saying that you have to burn it, and it does not become chulin, lebasa de kaddish. The Edom came after this carbon mincha was already put into a keli and it became fully kaddish. So even after the Edom came, it cannot become chulin again. You have to burn it. Now the question is, if you're going to say that those Edom that had this knowledge all the time, they showed up later, but they had this knowledge all the time. So if you're going to say that the fact that they had that knowledge doesn't change her of being a Sotah and the waters of the Sotah working, so therefore, Alma, if that's the case, so then I see this. Then the halacha should be bas mikdash umekadavi. She can still be mekadesh. She can still make the mincha a mincha. She can still be makriv the mincha. She can still drink the waters of the Sotah, even though there are Edom that know it doesn't change her status of being a Sotah. So therefore, this carbon mincha that became sanctified in the keli in the Beis Hamikdash, it's a real sanctification. It takes effect. So now and then, when the Edom show up later, you're going to have to take it and burn it. But originally, when the mincha was sanctified in the keli, she was still a Sotah. The knowledge of the Edom doesn't change her status. So the mincha has to be burnt. But if you're going to say like Rav Amram said before, the very fact that there are Edom that have this knowledge, So the water doesn't even work b'chlal. She doesn't have the regular halacha of the Sotah that has to bring a mincha and has to drink the water. The whole thing doesn't work because Edom have that knowledge. So if so, Tigali Milsa Lemafreya, now that the Edom showed up, shouldn't that reveal retroactively the Chikodesh Me'ikare B'tois Kodesh? That the whole thing that you put this mincha into the Kli, in the Kli Shadis, and you will makdish it was all a mistake. And if it's a mistake, v'tepek l'chulin, let it go out to chulin. If you're makdish a carbon and the whole hektish happened by mistake, the hektish doesn't take effect b'chlal, even if it was put in the Kli Shadis. So if so, in this case, since Edom had this knowledge all the time, it should go out to chulin. So why does it say over here that it cannot go out to chulin? You have to burn it. Amar Rav Yehuda midiskrata. So Rav Yehuda said, the case over here is something else. Edom did not come and say that she had a relationship with that man that we have a doubt about, what happened when she was secluded with this man. Something else. Edom came and said, Kagon shezinsa ba'azara. The Edom came and said about this Sotah that she went and had a relationship with someone right here and now. Something new just happened there, here in the Azara. This happened after she was makdish that mincha in the keli. The chi kodesh me'ikare shapir kodesh. So when this flour and oil they were makdish it in the keli, it was a real kedusha. It was a carbon. Now afterwards, this woman was mizana. So only now she can't anymore drink from the waters of the Sotah. So therefore, once it was originally the hektish was proper, so it can't go out to chulin anymore. That's what happened. But the Gemara asks on this: is this really possible? Is this woman over here left alone that this can happen? That she was mezana with someone, she had a relation with someone else at this point? The Pirchei Kohana, the young Kainim, are there to accompany her to make sure that she doesn't remain alone. Answers the Gemara, well, Shazinsa mi Pirchei Kohana Atzman. It's possible that she had a relationship with one of these Pirchei Kohana. They're one of those young Kainim themselves. The Gemara asks further on this Ravashi Yomar. Or the Gemara gives another teretz over here, that even though we just asked, Rav Mesharshi asked, that she's being accompanied by this Pirchei Kohana, so how could she have been mezana? So Rav Ashi gives another teretz, that she had to go out, she had to go and relieve herself. These young kainim that accompany her, do they hold on to her head covering, that she can't move away from them? She did. She went on her own, and over there, this Aveda happened. So that's the situation that this Mishnah is talking about, that the carbon mincha is going to have to be burnt. Again, so we could still say the halacha that Rav Amram said before. If there are Edom that have knowledge about the fact that what happened originally, that she became Tameh, then Taka the mincha is nothing, and the whole Sotah is nothing, because there's no halacha of Sotah in such a case. Here what happened was, when it says Edom came and said that there was a new development of what happened later. And that's why this carbon mincha originally was a carbon mincha, so it cannot become chulin again. Papa says, no, we could go back to what we said before. And that is that now Edom come and let us know that we know that this woman, the whole suffix we have originally about her, whether she had a relationship with this man, we know that she did. Now you ask the question, if that's the case, the whole mincha was a mistake, so it should go out to chulin. Says Rav Papa midrabanan. This is the fact that it does not go out to chulin. That's a gzeira midrabanan. Gzeira shemi yemru metzim the klisharis l'chayil. If you're going to allow this carbon mincha to go out to chulin, so then people are going to say, look, here you have a carbon that was already sanctified in the klisharis, a full kedusha, and yet all of a sudden it's chulin again. People are going to start mistreating things that are in the klisharis. Okay, so that's all the gzeira midrabanan. Minat teira take. This carbon mincha is nothing, because now retroactively we see that this whole thing was a mistake. Oh, so Rav Mari asks on this concept. Rav Papa introduces this new idea here, that once the carbon mincha is inside the klisharis, there's a gzeira. We can't let it go out to chulin again. Is this really true? So he brings you again from what we have right there in the Masechta. It says, nitmis minchasa, if the mincha itself became tamei, actually kitsha bekeli, before it was sanctified in the klisharis in the Beis HaMikdash. So then arehi k'chol menachos, it's like all other menachos with the halacha is v'tipada. It could be redeemed, as I mentioned before. Before it was sanctified in the keli, so then it doesn't have the full kedusha in it, so it could be redeemed. It only has kedusha sapeh. Kedusha's guf cannot be redeemed. But before it was sanctified in the keli, it could be redeemed. Mishakitsha b'keli. once it became sanctified in the keli, harei hi kechol hamenachos. So then the halacha will be like any mincha. Once it becomes tamei inside the kli sharis, so then you cannot redeem it anymore. V'tisarif. It's going to have to be burnt in the places where karbanos that are apostle are burnt. Kiddush hakaimitz. If the kaimitz that's taken from a mincha, that's the kain takes out a fistful that is called a kaimitz, which Rashi says that just like by a carbon you have shchita, so corresponding to shchita by a mincha you have the kaimitz. And you didn't get a chance to be makir this kaimitz on the mizbeach at shemeis hu, either the husband died or at shemeis he or she died. So now, if that's the case, so now this mincha is not needed anymore. The mincha is not used for anybody. One of them passed away. Again, the halacha will be like all menachas that originally were hektish, but not can't be used anymore with tisarif, and it gets burnt. Karav hakaimitz, if the kaimitz was already brought in the mizbeach, v'lehispik lechol shirayim, the kain did not get a chance to eat the shirayim of this mincha, which is meant for the kainim to eat. Either the husband died or she died. So here the halacha would be like all the menachis and v'toichal. Over here, the kainim could eat this carbon mincha that was brought is considered to be good. The carbon mincha was brought while the husband and wife were still alive, and it's a good mincha. And the Gemara explains shala safik bas mitchilasa. This whole thing, the whole carbon mincha, is brought for a Sotah where there's a doubt, there's a suffix about what happened. So kipra sveika v'olchala. So the mincha had its effect. It was mechaper. I mean, the mechaper over here doesn't mean literally she's not alive anymore. But in other words, the mincha was used for what it was needed. And v'holchala. And then she went. The fact that the husband or the wife passed away at that point, after the carbon mincha was brought already, it doesn't change it anymore. It's too late. It's already a good mincha. Now, bo edim she tmeya. Edim come and say that she's tamei. So minchasan is refes. So the mincha has to be burned on the Beis Hadeshen. Right, so that's the point that we said before. Now, the Mishnah then says, Nimtzu Eidel Zoimimin, if the original Adam that came and said that she is a Sotah, right? The original Adam that said that she was Nistar, that she was secluded with a man, and they were the ones that made her a Sotah, we find out that those Adam are Zoimimin, that those Adam lied, so what happens is, now retroactively we see that this whole thing was a mistake, so the carbon mincha, even if it was already in a keli, but it doesn't matter. It's released to become chulin. So the question here is obvious. Rav Papa said there's a rule. Once the mincha is sanctified in the keli, it cannot be released anymore. There's a gzeira. Chachamim don't want something that's in a kli sharis, even if it was a mistake, to be released to chulin. But here it clearly says that in the case where the Edom were lying, we see it's a mistake, so it becomes chulin. Says the Gemara, you can't ask from this case, because this is something everybody knows about. Edom Zaymim ben Kamret. You're asking me a question from a case where it turns out that the Edom were lying. Edom Zaymim ben Kol Yislahu. The Edom Zaymim, there's a rumor, everybody knows about this. A situation where Edom came to Abezin and lied, and the lie is exposed, that's something everybody knows about. So here, nobody will come and say, oh look, you're taking kachim and allowing it to go out to chol, and everybody will realize what happened. Before, though, the case we were talking about before was when there were Edom in Medina Sayyam. They had that knowledge, and because of that, you're saying that really the mincha and this Sotah is not a real mincha because of the knowledge of those Edom in Medina Sayyam. That's something that people don't know about. So over there, the Gzeira, Rav Papa says, the Gzeira does apply, that the mincha will stay hektish. So people shouldn't think that we could just take from hektish to cholim. So Gemara concludes the scene. It says, Tanya Kvasei Rav Sheshes. We learned, like what Rav Sheshes quoted here in the name of Rav Amram, this halacha, that if Edom have knowledge about the fact that this woman was tamei, that the waters of the Sotah don't work, but v'lav mitaymei. Not with the same reason, not based on the same pasuk that he brought, but a different pasuk. And he learned it, in the Braisa here, learned it from this pasuk. It says tahira. There's an extra word in the pasuk. It says tahira. Rashi here brings the pasuk. The pasuk says, V'im loy nitma isha, if this woman was not impure, and she actually was pure, then after she drinks the water of the Sotah, she'll have children. So that when it says in the pasuk the word tahira, and actually it says with a vav, with tahira, it's extra. Could have just says if she's not tamei, then she'll have children. Why does it have to add tahira? She is pure. What that means is v'loy sheyeshla edom b'medina sayam. Tahira, he means not in a situation where when she's drinking from these waters, there are edom overseas that know what happened, that she became tamei. Then the waters of the Sotah do not work. Now, furthermore, this Braisa darshans vit tahira. There's an extra vav. We darshan that as well. V'loy shetolsa la schos. and not in a situation where there's a schus, special schus she has, and then that will suspend the effect of the waters. So here we see clearly in the Brisa that Brisa is learning up both points. Whether there's Edom that know, whether she has a schus, the water does not work. She has to really be tahira. Okay, then she'll have children. Then the waters will work and she'll have children. Now the Gemara comes back now to Rab Shimon's opinion. And the Gemara is going to change Rab Shimon's. Oh, 1 second. There's one more detail here in this Brisa. Sorry. And v'loi sheyisu v'yitnu bo muzares b'levana. And also not in a situation where the women that are sitting and weaving outside, the women are outside and the moonlight, and they sit and they weave and they have conversations. And these women are talking about what happened to this woman, and they know what happened, that this woman had a relationship with this man. Meaning, if it's something that everybody's already talking about, even though we don't have proof for it, but they're talking about it, she's not called tahira. And in such a case, the waters are not going to work that she should have children. Now, Rab Shimon, so as I said, the Gemara comes back now to Rab Shimon. Rab Shimon, the Gemara before in Amud Aleph said, Rab Shimon holds that the schus does not work for this woman. The waters of the Sotah have to be 100%. We can't say that any schus gets involved in this. And the Gemara before also said that according to Rab Shimon, even if there's eitim that have knowledge, it won't take away the effect of the water. In fact, the Gemara says, according to Rab Shimon, he devav loy darish. Yeah, okay, so we could say Rab Shimon does not learn out 2 drashes from this pasuk, the word tahira and devav. But v'ha'ikeh yeshla edim b'medina sayam. But according to Rab Shimon, shouldn't we dash in the word tahira itself to teach me that if there are edim b'medina sayam, that then the waters of the Sotah are ineffective? So according to Rab Shimon, there's a problem. Rab Shimon's logic was, the moment you say that there's a possibility that the waters of the Sotah do not work, so then you might see Shemra on all women that drink from the waters of the Sotah, even after they drink from the waters, and it doesn't affect them. Everyone's going to say, could be she was Tamei, but it's just that there's Adam that had knowledge. But according to Rab Shimon, we have a clear drash here from this pasuk. And says the Gemara, Lo shchiche, that's not common. Meaning, if what Rab Shimon was arguing was, so the Gemara is not changing from what it said before. Rab Shimon's argument was, if you're going to say that a schus suspends the effect of the water, that Rab Shimon holds as a problem, because the schus is something that's more common. So therefore, every time a woman drinks from the water from the Sotah, you're going to say, it's just a schus. Doesn't mean that she's pure. But yeshla edim b'medina sayam, that there are edim that know about this, and that they left and they went overseas, that's very uncommon. And this is not enough to make a bad rumor for women that drink from the water. So therefore, Rab Shimon would agree to this halacha that we brought here, that if the edim have the knowledge, the water is ineffective, as you learn out from the word tahira.